Why rely on big tech for your communication when their values oppose your faith? Fide offers private, ad-free email built by and for Catholics. Most of you know Fide for email. And soon, they're launching Fide Chat, a fully end-to-end encrypted messaging app, perfect for Catholic families and groups. Sign up for fide.email today and you'll receive lifetime pricing for Fide Chat when it launches later this summer. Join Fide today. You don't have to compromise your faith for technology.
The SSPX are now in the secular and church news again. And I'm going to be upfront. I am pro-SSPX. Always have been. I don't think Archbishop Lefebvre really did anything wrong. What he did was perfectly legal until they changed the rules to stop him from doing it. I fully believe Archbishop Lefebvre will at least have a cause for canonization open for him someday. And if that process is legitimate, then I don't know what the outcome will be of that. But if it's a legitimate process, future generations should be satisfied with the outcome. But I am pro-SSPX. And I don't know why people aren't, honestly, since the Vatican has said that they have no official canonical status. That does not mean they're not in communion with Rome. There's no such thing as partial communion. Bishops who have investigated them in recent years, on behalf of Pope Francis, said they were in communion with Rome. It was just an internal family issue that needed to be worked out behind the scenes. And for the most part, I've left it at that. I don't debate the status of the SSPX here because I don't think that's the place of most lay people. Some laymen are very good on the subject, and if you want to learn more from a pro-SSPX standpoint, I suggest the work of Kennedy Hall. He has very easily digestible, easy to access information and in defense of the SSPX. That all having been said, they're in the news again because they were essentially given an opportunity to gain kind of partial access to a parish in France. There was a parish in France that had fallen into disuse, technically owned by the state, but had not been kept up. The diocese wasn't using it, and the local civil authorities, when contacted by the SSPX, said, sure, go ahead in there and take out what you need that is still salvageable for your parish. Cut and dry. Sounds like it follows the rules of the local authorities. The situation in France is weird. We'll go over some of that in this reporting here. But apparently, some people were shocked and then decided they were going to go after the SSPX legally. So let's start here with the Catholic Herald, which is not a pro-SSPX website by any means, and they get a lot of basic facts about the SSPX wrong here. Headline: SSPX investigated for theft and damage after removing altar and furnishings from French church. Now, this is, again, the Catholic Herald, and they are not in any way, shape, or form going to get the basic details of the SSPX right, including their canonical status, which is to say they're not in schism, they just are in limbo canonically because they've got an internal family dispute going on with the Vatican for several decades now over some of the so-called reforms of Vatican II. And yes, and statements like that show my bias, but I'm upfront with you with my bias. I don't hide it like some people do. Let's actually go here to the original article for this. It's from a French newspaper called Midi Libre. And from their language here, you're going to be able to tell that they are definitely a more liberal outlet. The holy water fonts were torn from the ground. The guard church stripped of its belongings by fundamentalists. Nice objective reporting there, guys. Bang up job. Here's the details. Quote: on Saturday, July 5th, members of the Priestly Society of St. Pius X, the SSPX, an ultra-conservative branch not recognized by the Catholic Church. They are recognized by the Catholic Church. They just don't have a canonical status. Took, without the necessary official authorization, some of the furniture and ornaments from the Church of La Vernarde, north of Ales. This church has been closed to the public since 2018, nestled in the Cevennes Massif on the heights of La Vernarde. Again, my apologies for my annihilation of the French language here. I'm terrible with foreign language. Town has a population of 350. The parish was closed because it is too dilapidated, close to ruin, and whose condition prevents any entry or holding of Mass. Yet on Saturday, July 5th, the town hall opened its doors to members of the priestly fraternity of St. Pius X, a dissident branch of the Catholic Church that is openly traditionalist and considered fundamentalist. What does it mean to be openly traditionalist, and who considers them to be fundamentalist? That is a question I would have for them. About 15 people entered the premises that day to take some of the furniture and ornaments still present. Statues of saints and other icons, as well as confessionals, were taken away. Quite a move that should subsequently be used to adorn one of their places of worship in Vaucluse. The operation shocked some worshippers. What worshippers? The place is dilapidated and been closed since 2018. No mass has been held there. They even took woodwork from the wall and even left with holy water fonts after tearing them out of the ground, one of them said. Is this the right way to treat a holy place? The members of the fraternity acted on site under the aegis of Abbot Benoit Laurent, head of the Saint Benezet Priory. Based in Avignon, this priory also manages the faithful in the Gard region. In writing, he emphasizes that the operation was carried out, quote, in complete transparency with the municipality of La Veronade, that would be the local secular authorities, and the Church Preservation Association, which would be a sort of a nonprofit meant to oversee preservation of historic churches, which looks like they're not doing a terribly good job if that church has been closed for 7 years and was dilapidated. This association, led by Michel Royer, a resident of the commune, quote, requested the help of the diocese and the Regional Directorate of Cultural Affairs on several occasions, continues Father Laurent, in order to inform them of the dilapidated state of this furniture and thus safeguard and protect this religious heritage. In the absence of any response from the Regional Directorate of Cultural Affairs in the diocese, the association reportedly contacted the religious group, quote, in order to recover all the furniture that was not yet too damaged by the humidity and rain falling from the roof. A few weeks earlier, the village council had voted in favor of what the SSPX had done. So here's what we have. We have the SSPX reaching out to local secular authorities, a local watchdog group, and they had the permission to do things. On Tuesday, July 8th, the abbot also told the news outlet that an approval from the Directorate of Cultural Affairs and the prefecture sent to the association confirmed, quote, that there was no problem regarding the collection of the furniture. However, her version fails to match. Michelle Royer of the association says she was first contacted by the fraternity, which expressed interest in these assets and offered to take whatever was still usable. At the same time, municipal authorization alone in the eyes of the law was not sufficient to authorize the operation. Although the buildings and furnishings are the responsibility of the municipality, this church is not deconsecrated and therefore remains a place of worship, made available to the Catholic diocese. To transfer the furnishings, a prefecture decree, as well as approval from the diocese via its bishop, Monsignor Nicolas Brouet, are required. These were steps that the mayor, Christian Miele, had not taken. The diocese stated that it had not been informed, nor had the prefectural services, end quote. So the SSPX is getting sued for this. But the question I have is, that article makes it pretty clear that that was the responsibility of the local municipality. So why isn't the diocese suing the local municipality? I can tell you exactly why they're not suing the local municipality. Because the SSPX are a much easier target to go after. That's why. This is the culture war in the church. All over again, now spilled out into the secular legal system, as if the secular legal system should have any say over what is Catholic and what is not. Except in France, you have the unique situation where the church has a odd relationship with the state. In 1905, the government of France passed a law decreeing that all church property built before 1905 was the property of the state. They would be given to the churches to use, but they were property of the state to be paid for by the local authorities or by the national government, whatever the case may be. Anything built afterwards is the property of the Catholic Church. The dioceses or religious orders just govern these things. They just sort of manage them and their day-to-day affairs. The laws seem fairly convoluted on this. And on paper, it looks like the SSPX followed the procedure. It looks like the fault on this was the mayor of that hamlet. So again, why didn't they follow the rules? Why are they the ones not being sued? It's also convoluted. Expect to see this story mimicked in other places, probably in France, where it's easier to do this. If you ever wonder why outside of France you don't see a lot of parishes for the SSPX, yeah, they have a few. They're often bought by laymen who put them into the hands of a sort of a nonprofit that will govern them and protect, basically have the assets protected, so that if the SSPX ever gets sued, the parish can't be taken away. That's generally how it works in a lot of places. Not in all places. I know the society owns a few parishes of their own, but they don't have access to a lot of these things. If you ever wondered why that is, that's one reason. Because church authorities who are weirdly schismatic with Rome on the status of the SSPX by treating them as if they're schismatics and heretics and the next best thing to the devil, while treating Protestants and Eastern Orthodox like they're just our, distant cousins or something. It's weird how they do this. They will happily use the secular legal system against the SSPX because they see it as a threat to what they're doing in their diocese and to the post-conciliar order of the church. And in a way, they're right. Let me know what you think of this story in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. Sharing this on social media helps a lot too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.